We need to talk about a little bit of EQ business. And what I mean by that is the architecture of emotional intelligence. So I recently had a woman really like lay her soul open in one of her comments to me in one of the recent videos that I did. And going through a difficult time, a lot of us are going through difficult things, totally understandable. And then she mentioned something about like trying to stay in the light and not succumbing to the dark. And it was getting lost in that place of feeling your feels through a very natural, normal situation and getting that confused with if I feel my feels, then I'm in the dark and I'm not in the light, and that's not a good thing. And when I read this, like all the bells and whistles went off for me. So I think I'm going to tell you a story pretty soon. I have a story lined up that I want to share with you that's a lot of fun. It's about feeling the feels. But the first thing I want to say right out of the gate is when we experience loss, or when we experience loss and then we have grief and we have emotion going on, feeling your feels is a perfectly natural and normal thing to have happen, and that is not succumbing to the dark, not anywhere near it. We are spiritual beings in a human body having a human experience. Having feelings, having experiences, having emotions is a natural and normal part of that process. And so feeling your feels along the way, that's important. That is healthy. The second part of feeling the feels is then processing those feelings. And then the third part is arriving into a new space about new thoughts, new psychology, new consciousness about feeling the feelings that you had and processing those things and getting to that new spot. That's natural. That's normal. That's all part of the process. And when you're in that tumult of feeling those feelings, sure, you might be in a dark place. That's perfectly normal. That is not succumbing to the dark. That is being in the process, being part of the process. I just want to clarify that. So if there's any of you out there new to the spiritual path or in the spiritual path going, I must always stay in the light and I can never go to the dark, and that means suppressing your feelings, that's kind of a fucked up spot to be. And I really, really encourage you to begin to be aware of your emotions, allow those emotions to flow through, process those emotions so that you can then eventually arrive into a new space in your time and space. Okay. To that point, I have a fun story to share with you that like, hopefully this kind of like drives the point home in a fun kind of way. So this was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm still in North Fork, Gunnison, Paonia, Colorado, coaching clients. And one of my coaching clients, it was her and her husband, and they are horse trainers. And oh my God, we had so much fun working together. We got through so much stuff, got them to a better space. But one day when I was in session she was talking to me about an experience she had. And so imagine this is like a woman who's like, not any more than 5'3", 5'4", and she handles these huge horses. She drives a dually pickup truck. She has a huge horse trailer because they take off and they do trainings and shows. I mean, they are all into the horse scene. So imagine this, pistol of a woman, spitfire of a woman behind the wheel of her great big truck, hauling her horse trailer with like 2 or 3 horses in it. I mean, this is a woman who knows her business, knows her stuff, and she's out on the highway. She's on I-70 in the mountains on her way to Denver, Colorado. Like, this is the country I grew up in, right? This is like the hardcore country business kind of stuff that I grew up in and knew. And so she's telling me the story about how she's driving her truck, trailering her horses into Denver. She's going through those mountain passes in the Rocky Mountains. And she was telling me about this very emotional thing that she had experienced. And here she is driving her truck with just tears streaming down her face. And she's like, Dana, I whipped that truck over to the side of the road, and I did what you told me to do. I felt my feels. I got present with the trigger. And I'm sitting on the other end of the line as the coach, horrified. I'm like, oh my God, she's going through this whole emotional trigger space as she's driving her dually truck, trailering these horses, and she made no bones about it. She knew she was going through like a massive emotional thing. She got herself to safety. She pulled over, whipped that truck over to the side of the road, got her and her horses to safety. And here she is sitting behind her truck, and she's like, Dana, I was like sitting behind my steering wheel, and I was feeling my feels and present in the trigger, and it was all just flowing through me, and it was like really scary and really awful, and it was this storm that went through me, and then whew, she's like, Dana, and then it was over. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm still here. I'm still in my body. I can, I've got my appendages. I'm okay. I'm going to be fine. And that's when she told me about like how good she felt about doing the work, because this was the real first time that she didn't stuff her emotions or try and file them away or pawn them off onto something else. She was so proud of herself that she stayed present in the moment of her emotions and her triggers, and she let them flow through her to the point that she was so present she was able to get her truck and her horses over the side of the road and go through this whole experience. And it was just incredible. It was just amazing. It was amazing to hear her recount this story about how dedicated she was to her practice. And I will never forget the imprint of me of this like feisty, tiny spitfire of a woman who handles these huge horses and was like manhandling this truck and trailers over to the side of the road so she could be so conscious in her moments of feeling the feels of her trigger and not try and shove it or force it or push it down, but just let it flow through and just be really present and then let it go through. And then getting to the other side and being in a brand new space. Okay. So here I am. I'm reading this comment that this woman left for me of this really emotional loss that she's going through right now and wrestling and struggling with, like, I have to stay in the light. I can't succumb to the dark. And every ounce of me is like, it's okay to feel your feels. And me just remembering Sophia and how powerful and feisty and amazing she is, that she like went through her experience, called me to tell me about it. And this is what I want to let this woman know who has gone through her own loss. I want to let her know. I want to let you guys know it's okay to feel our feels. It's okay to experience that trigger. And even more so, it's more important to stay present with it as you ride that wave through into the new place, so you can process that emotion and your thoughts about your emotion and your emotion about the emotion. I mean, there's layers and levels here, and allow that all to move through so you can land in your spot, in your new space. And this is what I want to leave with you. If a 5'3" feisty woman can haul ass through the Colorado Rockies with a dually truck, trailering horses, and get herself pulled over to the side of the road so she can be present with her experience and get through and get to that new space, I know you can too. And I will just leave that with you. All right. So that's what I have for you today. Make sure you keep walking to meet the miracles along the way, and I will see you out here on the airwaves.